Welcome back to Full Sport Press. I'm Peyton,
I am Zac.
and we have not a really a full packed episode, just kind of a little short one, a little
It's more
overview.
of it's more of like a medium sport press,
Yeah,
like
pretty
full,
much.
yeah.
Which we're getting to that point. Me and Zach have a few ideas for this summer when we're down to little sports or not much of note to talk about. We have some ideas we're going to try out later on, but until we get there, we'll go on with what we got. So let's start with our what we saw.
Only heard that like.
Sorry, folks. I left on the repeat, but
You're making up for last episode where we
that's what it
forgot
was.
to do it. Yeah, yeah,
We had to make up for last episode when we forgot. You're welcome. All right, what
yeah.
was your what we saw, Zach?
So mine, I was lucky enough to go to the Fever's preseason game this weekend. It was amazing. They did get a dub, obviously, because they're so good. But they shot 50% from three, which is well down from what their third quarter shooting percentage was of 70. They were
Wow.
up to like 67.5% from three, I believe, at the end of the third. And then they took some more shots in the fourth, obviously, missed a few. But yeah, they went 10 for 20 from three, which is just crazy to see. That was a great game. It's a preseason game, so obviously it wasn't sold out here in Indy, but man, the vibes were alive in Gamebridge, ready for Friday. What was yours?
All right. Well, there you go. WNBA action. What I saw goes to college lacrosse. On Saturday night, we had the number 4 seed Maryland going up against Army, and this is at Maryland Stadium. And Army was up 15-14 with about a minute left, so about to get the upset. Maryland's goalie comes out to press and comes out of the goal, so they score again, go up 16-14. So then Maryland gets the face off on the next possession, go down and score really fast. 16-15, about probably 30 seconds left. Maryland gets the face off again. So they have a chance to tie it, force it to overtime. And with about 15, 20 seconds left, they got three about to be opportunities. And like each time one of the Army defenders would barely tap their stick to throw them off. And they stopped them in the last 15 seconds, having three like right in front of the goal opportunities with last second checks. And Army pulls off the upset and over a 4 seed Maryland, who is a really good team. I believe they won the national championship last year. So
Maryland?
Big upset for Maryland. A big upset for Army. You love to see it. Yeah, all right. So moving on to our reviewing our last week's game. All right, Zach, you had the Nuggets and the Suns.
I did. I had game 5 of Nuggets Suns. It had to go to 6 at that point, but basically what I said last week was whoever won this game was going to win the series, and that is exactly what happened because the Suns are not good, apparently. Really weird. But yeah, the Nuggets won 118-102. In this game, Devin Booker had 28 points. KD had 26. DeAndre Ayton had 14, and nobody else got to double digits for the Suns. And then you go look at the Nuggets. 19 from Michael Porter Jr., 10 from Aaron Gordon, 29 from Jokic, 19 from Jamal Murray, and then off the bench, B. Brown, who is Bruce Brown, had to look that up because I didn't know, scored 25. So, I mean, when Bruce Brown off the bench is scoring 25 on you, I don't think that's really a recipe for success, and it was not for the Suns, as they are now out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on my side, we had Manchester City versus Real Madrid. This is the leg in Madrid. It started off with Vinicius having an insane shot from outside the box to go up 1-0 in the first half. Second half, another insane long-distance shot. Kevin De Bruyne, he just kind of like didn't even come up off the ground. Somehow just like a rocket on the ground, like scooting right above the ground, all the way to the corner, and that is how the game ended 1-1, which I will speak on more about of leg 2 later.
That reminds me of how that shot was. Sorry, there's like a hair floating. We'll talk about it more after the podcast because it's something that just happened to you and me.
Yeah.
Do you remember that ultimate frisbee throw I had in the gym that one
Oh,
time?
yeah.
Oh, that was crazy. All right, moving on.
All right. But I was just reminded of last week, or when I was watching this the semifinals. In the semifinals, I believe it was, I don't remember how many years ago it was now, but a couple days ago was 4 years ago, I believe, to the day of Liverpool coming back on Barcelona, being down 3-0, coming back to Anfield. Trent Alexander-Arnold takes
Corner
the
taken
quick
quickly,
corner.
baby.
Oh my gosh. I will never forget that moment.
That video lives in my like YouTube favorites. It's
Yep.
bookmark on Twitter about 50 times. Like, man, yeah.
It was such a great moment.
Oh, man, I was definitely working at the YMCA, neglecting my job. So hopefully the kids were all right while I was going crazy.
All right. So moving on, our next thing we have is the lacrosse quarter. Is there something else? What?
The sound.
What about the sound?
We're switching topics.
We're leaving this all in unedited,
We
folks.
are. Yeah, we are.
All right. So we are moving on to lacrosse. This coming weekend will be the quarterfinals. So let's go ahead and talk about those matchups, who's playing and when. Starting on Saturday, 2 games. First off, at noon, we'll have Georgetown versus Virginia. Virginia destroyed Richmond 17-8 in their first round matchup. Georgetown eked out a win against Yale 19-17. That was a great game. And then after that, at 2:30 on Saturday, you got Duke versus Michigan. Michigan upset Cornell, who was the 8 seed, and Duke survived Delaware. They beat them 12-11. It was close the entire game, but Duke survives in the end. And then on Sunday at noon, you got Penn State versus Army, which I told you earlier, Army upset Maryland, so that'll be interesting to see. And then Sunday at 2:30, Notre Dame versus Johns Hopkins. That's the 3 seed versus the 6 seed. Notre Dame beat Utah 20-7. And Johns Hopkins beat Bryant 22-8. So both of those teams destroyed their first round opponent. So it'll be interesting to see how those teams match up going into this. But yeah, so 12 and 2:30 on Saturday and Sunday, ESPNU. I don't think there's going to be much other sports going on at those times, honestly. So tune in, see some good lacrosse. All right, moving on to our next sport. Next up, we have soccer, Premier League action. Now, right at this moment, Liverpool is about to win their game against Leicester City 3-0. Trent Alexander-Arnold had an absolute great goal. If you want to go watch that, look it up. But before we move on to talk about Liverpool and Manchester United, kind of the big teams left to talk about as far as position. Man City, I mean, at this point, it would take Man City to get destroyed, basically. Like Kevin De Bruyne, Erling Haaland, all of them get hurt against Real Madrid this week. They have to play all their youth players or something. That's the only way I can see this happening. All Man City has to do in their last 3 games is win one of them, and they will become the champions of the Premier League, as Arsenal lost 3-0 to Brighton this past weekend. Man, you hate to see it. And I saw an article earlier about don't call Arsenal a choke artist, because at the end of the day, if Man City wins the rest of their games, they'll still have one of the best highest point totals ever. And that's just Man City. I mean, you have to have basically a perfect season at this point to beat them. And that's just where we are in the Premier League. Liverpool, hopefully, will get back on track next year. They were the ones that were challenging. Arsenal just didn't have it in them. And keep in mind, Arsenal wasn't a great team last year. So for them to get this close is an impressive feat, I would say. But, yeah, Man City right now is just too good.
Yeah,
then
it sucks to just be that close and then you just can't get it done. Because
Yeah.
all I had to do was just keep winning.
Yep. And then they
But
had like 2 draws in a row and
yeah,
lost.
see,
Just can't
that's
do
it.
that.
And a loss to Man City, which doesn't help. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
All right, and then we move to the relegation zone, and I believe it is not changed at all. No
it's a good
team
band
won
name.
or the relegation zone.
Good band name.
Okay, but I believe it has not changed at all. No team won, lost, or I mean, no team won or tied. They all lost this weekend
Didn't one
because
of them like
Leicester.
officially get relegated?
Oh yes, Southampton is
Hmm.
officially relegated. Um, Sadly,
Bye.
they've been in the Premier League. I can't tell you how long because Virgil van Dijk used to play there. Sadio Mane used to play there. 2 Liverpool legends. They have had some good players, and just sadly their time has come. But looking forward to this coming week, Leicester and Leeds. Let's see who their matchups are going to be coming up on the weekend. So Leicester plays on Monday again against Newcastle, who is 3rd in the league, and Leeds has a matchup against West Ham. Now, hopefully, West Ham, that would be the best opportunity for Leeds to gain some points. Would be to beat West Ham. They are 15th in the table, and Everton plays Wolves, who are 13th in the table. So Everton and Leeds have an opportunity for wins, I would say, this coming weekend. Leicester, not so much, but who knows? And then we move on to the closest race, the one that really is going to come down to the wire. The race for 4th place between Manchester United, Liverpool, and at this point Newcastle as well. It wasn't. I didn't think it was as close as it was, but now Newcastle, Manchester United, Liverpool, they're all in that same race for 4th place or 3rd place. Because 2 out of 3 of those teams will make the Champions League. So looking ahead, Liverpool, after winning this game, are 1 point behind both Newcastle and Man United, but they both have a game more. Liverpool's played one more game than them. So they have 3 games left. Liverpool has 2. So Liverpool's remaining games: Aston Villa, Southampton. Obviously, Southampton should be a win, you would hope. But Aston Villa is a challenging one. Manchester United has Bournemouth, Chelsea, and Fulham. Chelsea hasn't been great, but who knows what could happen there. And then Bournemouth and Fulham are both 10th and 14th. So we'll see. But that would be what you would want to watch for if you're watching Premier League. Watch Manchester United, Liverpool, Newcastle, because those are the big kind of teams that are fighting for those spots. All right. Moving on to the
Good.
WNBA.
Oh yeah. Fun news. First of all, it's opening week. Friday, May 19th is opening day for the WNBA. There are 4 games on that night. Let me go look them up real quick, though. Yeah, so opening night, you're going to have Sun Fever, Liberty Mystics, the Sky versus the Lynx, and then also the Mercury versus the Sparks. And 3 of those games are Commissioner Cup games, which we'll discuss in a second. But before we talk more about opening day, I want to go back to the preseason because the WNBA decided to do something different this year. For one of the preseason games, they decided to take a trip to Canada. There's been a lot of talk about expansion in the WNBA, all different cities and places. 2 of the top places and 2 of just the most named places for expansion have been 1, Toronto, and 2, like Oakland, Bay Area, around there. So this season they decided, you know what, let's try to test it. Let's go to Toronto and just see how a preseason game does. Yeah, it sold out. A preseason game sold out in Toronto. They, I believe, had it at Scotiabank, which is where where the Raptors play. And yeah, it was a good game too. You had the Sky playing the Lynx, both of which have 2 pretty good rookies. You got Diamond Miller on the Lynx, who was the number 2 overall pick. She is played out of her mind this preseason. I think she slowed down a little bit versus Chicago, but yeah, her first game was so good. And then of course on Chicago you got Kalia Copper. They did lose some people like Candace Parker They lost Van Sloot, big losses, but they got the job done over this game, 82-74. It's just a good thing to see if you're a fan of women's basketball and a fan of the WNBA. Expansion is looming in the distance. We've heard about it forever, but it seems like it's coming closer and closer. And that Toronto game, that was a good sign. So I think that's going to be fun to watch out for. But yeah, looking at opening day, like I said, you've got Fever Sun. That should be an interesting one. The Fever, obviously, you've got the number 1 overall pick, Aaliyah Boston, playing in her first official game. The Sun, they're usually contenders, so we'll see how that one goes. Really, it's really tough to know how to gauge it right now because nobody's really played, but that's just where we're at. A game we're going to talk about a little bit later, but you have Liberty Mystics. That'll be a huge game. Liberty is big super team now. Mystics are a contender. Like I said, we'll get into that one later. The Sky and Lynx actually play each other first game of the season, so they'll get to see each other right there. Minnesota kind of has a new look. They got Tiffany Mitchell from the Fever, who she's been playing really good this preseason. And then, like I said, Diamond Miller. It's going to be interesting to see this Lynx team because they're young, but they've also have like veteran pieces. So it could be really fun to see them kind of blossom and grow over the year. And then, of course, Mercury, you got DT there. You got Brittany Griner back. I don't know if she'll be playing yet, but she is back. And then also the LA Sparks. They've got some new faces. Zaya Cook's one of them. Of course, you can't wait to see her. They got, what is her name? Monica Sonano from Iowa. But also, why can I not find it? There it is. Katie Lou Samuelson, who used to be really big at UConn. That's just a name I remember. I couldn't stand her at UConn because she always beat South Carolina. But, it is what it is. But yeah, that's what opening day looks like for the WNBA. And then earlier I talked about the Commissioner's Cup. Peyton, have you ever heard of this?
I believe we may have talked about it one time.
Yeah.
Because I was talking about how I don't understand the NBA thing, and then you said something about WNBA
yeah.
has it.
Yeah, it's a little different with the WNBA than like how the NBA is doing it. But basically think of like the Premier League embedded into an NBA season or like a basketball season. So basically there are certain games, there's 10 games for each team that are marked off as Commissioner Cup games. And as you win those games, you earn points. And then once you get to the final, whichever two teams have the most points will play each other and they get a prize. So the total compensation for the whole thing is $500,000. The winning team gets $30,000 per player, with the MVP of the game taking home an extra $5,000. And then the losing players on the other team get an extra $10,000. So it's just something easy that you can do throughout the season and keep up with. It's only for the first half of the season. So once you get into the second half, they don't do it anymore. It's just playoffs. We're getting ready for the playoffs. But it's just an easy way to have something different, have something else to keep up with. It's not hard to keep up with. You can always look at like ESPN and see who's got however many points and figure out who's going to be in that final. So this is how I think the NBA should do the tournament thing they want to do. I'm still not 100% clear on how they're doing it, but that's all the Commissioner's Cup is. Pretty easy. Easy way to get some extra money for the players, which is good. Yeah, WNBA starting up. I'm excited. It's going to be fun.
All right. I believe that moves us on to the NBA. Now, we have a few things to discuss here, not only the playoffs, but we're going to start off.
Hold on. Because I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
Let's say you were going to make, around $240, $250 million over the next 5 years. And the only thing you can't do is flash a gun on social media. You think you can do it?
I think I could, honestly. I haven't had that happen to me once in my life so far. So.
I don't know if I could. Well, we do know that Ja Morant cannot. I just don't even know what to say.
I
This
mean, you
one,
think he would have learned his lesson when it happened during the season, but then he just decides right after the season ends, let's do it again. Let's do it again.
and like I watched the video. His friend like is trying to help him out because you see it pans to him and it quickly just goes back down and
Yeah.
it's just talk and it's like, dude, what are we doing? I don't know. I don't know. It's annoying because he is so good. Like the year before this, everybody was so excited to go see Ja because I mean he was doing almost free throw line dunks. It was in his athleticism and what he can do on the basketball court are absolutely insane. But then this year starts and it's like I don't know if it's the Grizzlies. I don't know if it's just a weird mix of the players in there or if it's just John Morant wants to be somebody he's really not. I don't know. It's just weird. If you don't know, basically, John Morant flashed another gun on social media. The Grizzlies, there we go, suspended him, and he is most likely going to get a lengthy suspension at the start of the season, if not something else.
I mean, at this point, he deserves it.
Yeah, he deserved it the first time. This is just dumb. Yeah,
All right.
I don't have
Yeah.
anything else to say about it. That's all I have. It's
All
dumb.
right.
I don't get it.
Yeah. I. Anyway, we're gonna move on. So tomorrow, I believe, yes, tomorrow
Yeesh.
at 8 o'clock, we have the NBA lottery. So, or basically the sweepstakes for Wembanyama is
Yeah. Yep.
basically what it is this year. So let's look at the kind of the odds of the top couple teams. Who has the highest chances of getting number one pick or around there? So at number one, or the top three teams that all have 14% to get the number one pick is the Pistons, the Rockets, and the Spurs. Then right behind them at 12.5% is the Hornets. And then we have the Trailblazers at 10.5%. Now, as a little fun activity, I have this fun website pulled up on my phone called Tankathon, and it will sim the lottery for us and give us a simulation of who it could possibly be.
So you're telling me this is it. This is the
what I'm
NBA
about to do
lottery.
will happen. All right,
Okay.
that's a guarantee.
All right.
Are you ready?
I am.
If you
Let's
see
go
me hitting
Pacers.
it multiple
Let's go
times, it's
Pacers.
not because the Hornets didn't get it. It's just no reason. All right. Oh yeah, Pacers are seventh, by the way, with 6.8% odds. All right, and I'm clicking the button. The number one pick, or Victor Wembanyama, goes to the Houston Rockets.
Okay,
It's locked in.
So Houston Rockets now have Victor.
Yep.
Have already talked about bringing back James Harden.
Yep.
Who he has also said he would be interested in going back. And if they do, but I doubt they will, keep Jalen Green, Houston goes from one of the worst teams in the NBA to, I wouldn't really say a deep playoff contender, but making the playoffs, or at
Yeah.
least the play-in. That's wild.
All right. Number two pick would go to the Charlotte Hornets.
I don't even know who they would pick. I don't even know. I don't
guess,
know another name.
I think it's either going to be Scoot Henderson
Never seen
or
him
Brandon
once.
Miller. Those are the next two.
I know that one.
Then we got number three, the Trailblazers, and from there.
Okay.
So that will be the Pacers will get the seventh pick. I hate to be the one to inform you. So
That'd be all right.
All right, you heard it here first. That will be the lottery tomorrow. Congratulations, Houston.
You're good again.
Better luck next year, Hornets. You'll never get the number one pick. The NBA hates you. All right. Now, this next talking point, I've seen this discussed so much on social media at this point, and I have a very strong opinion on it. This is the Warriors dynasty over? Zach, is it over?
I mean, yeah. Draymond's not coming back next year, and then nobody else is. Jordan Poole looks like the worst extension in ever right now. Klay Thompson's old. Steph's just getting older. Yeah.
I'm going to say no, and here's why. I feel like we've had this conversation before when they the year they had a top. Didn't they end up with a number 1 pick or whatever? And they got Wiseman, whatever year that was.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so it's not like they've been on this steady every year in the finals or every year getting there. Because they've had a couple years where they haven't made the playoffs. But this all to say is I don't doubt Steph Curry, and I don't
I don't
doubt the
either.
ability the Warriors can rebuild and figure out a way to make this work. Because maybe they do lose all these guys, and they probably will. I don't know if that's a bad thing for them. I think at this point, Steph Curry himself and the Warriors have the pull to get a big free agent to replace those guys, whoever that might be. I don't know who honestly is a free agent coming up, but
I'm not
whoever
sure
that might
either.
be, I feel like they would be able to either trade or pull in free agents to replace them and get right back where they were. Because Steph Curry still looks like the same guy. I mean, maybe he's
Yeah, he does.
not necessarily the best he's ever been, but he's still one of the best players in the NBA by far. And I'm not ready to say it's over. Unless Steph
What?
Curry wants to be traded to Charlotte back home, I understand.
Hey, that's a
It's not.
possibility.
It
What
is.
scares me about Steph and the Warriors is, I don't know, last season when they won it, it was basically only Steph. Clay stepped up a few games, Jordan Poole had some big games, but the overall arching storyline of the entire run of their playoffs was, holy crap, Steph is carrying this team, and he is very obviously the best player in the league at this point. I mean, what he was doing was insane. And this year, he didn't look like that. I mean, he had bad games. I don't know. I think that, I mean, obviously it's Steph. You can't count Steph out, just like you can't count LeBron out. But with what they're losing and who they're losing, they can get big names. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. I think it's over. I think it's coming to an end.
All right, next up, the 76ers
Oh boy. Oh boy.
get destroyed.
I mean, well,
By the
no, they
Celtics.
were doing really good. At
Were
halftime, it was a 3-point game. And then I don't know what happened.
Did you happen to see Embiid's quote after the game?
No.
He said, "Me and James can't do it all. It's 5-on-5." So imagine being his teammate and hearing that.
I mean,
And the fact is, he wins MVP, and his performance, like, it's just not good enough in that scenario. Jason Tatum, now that's a performance you want to see in a game
oh,
7.
man. Yeah.
Embiid went 5 for 18
He
with
only had
15
15
points.
points, and then James Harden only
Yeah,
had 9.
I know, and that's what that quote even more is just like, are you
Yeah, I
serious?
know. Whereas
Like,
Tobias scored more than both of you. Tyrese Maxey scored more than both of you. I
and
mean,
to act like that quote almost seems like our team isn't good enough. No, that
they're not.
team
They're not.
that, but no, but I think they are at this where they've had the opportunities where they
They
should have been
have.
good enough.
Yes. Yeah.
But like to say that now, after like you've had all these chances to get to where you want to be, and then say, oh, well, it's not just me and James out there. Well, you are the MVP, so you do have a certain amount of carry that you should be able to do, especially in a game 7.
Yeah, that was just I don't understand how it was so close and then they just couldn't do anything. They scored 10 points in the third quarter. Like, that's an NBA team. That is unacceptable. That's absolutely ridiculous. An NBA team with the MVP on your team. That's crazy. Yeah, and then Jason Tatum goes for 51. Jaylen Brown went for 25. Oh my God. 3 people on the Celtics scored in double digits. And
Yeah, I
Malcolm
know. I saw that.
Brogdon only had 12. And this is a 51 from Jason Tatum, who only had 1 point at halftime in game 6. So, yeah, he wasn't happy about that, clearly, and he showed him.
I think here's what I think. I think Jokic is a little angry he didn't get the MVP and it got to Embiid, and it's showing in the playoffs. Like Jokic is like insane
Yeah,
right now, and Embiid
yeah,
won the MVP. He's just like, I won the MVP now. But now this Nuggets are in the Western Conference Finals. Sixers are going home.
yep.
All right, next topic: will the Knicks get a ring this century?
No,
No, pretty easy answer.
it doesn't make sense. Again, this is a team that before the playoffs were white hot, like could not lose, scoring out of their mind, beating teams left and right. And then a lot of it goes to that Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart hookup, Julius Randle playing good basketball. And then Jimmy Butler just did what Jimmy Butler does. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's not looking good for the Knicks.
I think at this point they just got to build around Jalen Brunson because he was insane the whole
Yeah.
series, even
He was
though
insane
they
all
did
season.
lose.
All
Yeah.
season, he was amazing.
RJ Barrett, there's a lot of questions there. I know Julius Randle was like first team All NBA, I believe, or something like that.
That's crazy.
But if you looked on Knicks Twitter, you would think he was one of the worst players in the NBA.
Oh yeah.
But they got to figure out something around Jalen Brunson at this point. Just build around him. If that's signing, or I mean, I feel like they just haven't been the big free agent getter that you would expect them to be. Like I feel like they're always the rumored team for everybody. Like there was a time when the LeBron went to the Lakers, there was a thought he might go to the Knicks. Same thing with Kevin Durant when he went to the Nets. Like every year, I feel like the biggest one's always linked to the Knicks, and they never go there. So
yeah,
we'll see.
All right, and then next up, all we got is the series starting. We got the conference finals coming up. So on the East, you've got the Celtics and the Heat, number 2 versus number 8. And then on the West, you've got number 1 Nuggets versus number 7 Lakers. Who's winning? Go.
I'm gonna take the Nuggets. I think they're finally at a point where they're kind of a complete team and they're ready to make it to the finals. They've gotten close, but haven't really been able to finish it off. I think this is the year. Like I said, Jokic is playing insane. I think this is the time they do it. Lakers, I'm not sure. They're just I don't want them to win, so they won't. That's my reasoning. Then on the other side, Heat, Jimmy Butler, all day.
Good. I'm saying Heat Lakers. Get these top dogs out of here. Get them out. Yeah, I mean, how do you bet against LeBron in the playoffs, especially after just beating Steph Curry? I feel like this kind of just has to be the mentality. So that's what I'm going with. And then obviously, I agree with you, Jimmy Butler. Do your thing. Go ball.
And now I did read a tweet that the NBA script writers are making it Celtics Lakers, so LeBron can win and break the tie between them and the most NBA championships ever. We'll see if that happens. All right, moving on. I believe we have the college football section now. Just a little note. What do we got?
Yeah, we do. Ladies and gentlemen, the ACC is about to have a crisis on their hands. Oh boy. So, in the era of TV deals and super conferences, you've got the SEC going to 16 teams, bringing in Texas and Oklahoma. You've got the Big Ten adding 2 brand new shiny West Coast teams in USC and UCLA? Not UCLA. USC and somebody.
UCLA.
UCLA?
Yeah, UCLA.
Okay. We're going to say it's UCLA. Look it up real quick. But we're just going to go with UCLA. The ACC, who has not been as good with their TV deals, now has 7 teams who are looking into leaving. It seems right now that all it is conversations with lawyers to explore, in quotes, just how unbreakable the ACC grant of rights deal is. So basically what that means is you have some teams that don't like the TV deal they're in now. They see all these other TV deals happening and how much money those schools are about to get. And they're saying, why would we stay in the ACC? Which I agree. Why would anybody ever stay in the ACC? Because it's so bad. But here's what's bad for the ACC. The teams that are talking about doing it. I'm just going to list them off for you. Virginia Tech, Virginia. North Carolina State, North Carolina. Miami, Florida State, and Clemson. Literally all of your top earners and top dogs want to get out.
Besides Duke.
Basketball. Crazy.
Well, they would be leaving in every sport,
Crazy.
right? So
Well, yeah. That's just
it
crazy.
was UCLA, USC, and UCLA to the Big Ten.
Thank you. Yeah, so you
All
got
right.
7 teams looking to get out,
Yeah,
and
that's
yeah, it seems
like.
like we're. It
Do we?
seems like
Are they going to go ahead?
no. You go.
I feel like we were about to say the same thing.
No, we're not.
Okay. I was gonna say it feels like we're moving more closer and closer towards super conferences
Crap,
at this
we are.
point. I see. I knew it. I knew you were gonna say the same thing. Yeah, I feel like we're moving more towards super conferences at this point because 7 teams. I mean, even if you split them up between the major conferences, they're getting up to 16, 17, 18 teams. Like, where are all these schools going to go? So I feel like the only explanation is a mega conference.
I know where I stand and that everybody should be independent, play whoever you want, whenever you want. That is what it should be. The fact that it's not is absolutely preposterous, but that's how capitalism works. So, next.
All right. Moving on to the NFL. Now, if you were keeping up on Twitter Friday, then if you were keeping up on Twitter on Friday, slowly the games were getting released throughout the day. Teams were releasing their videos of the schedule releases. One of my honorable mentions for things I saw this week was the Titans schedule reveal. They went on to the Broadway Street in Nashville and asked who these logos of the teams were, and there were some phenomenal answers. I now cheer for.
They were all
Yeah,
good, though.
yeah, they were. I now cheer for the North Carolina Tigers. As we know, that is what the Panthers' actual name is.
I'm trying to think like the Chargers did Pop-Tarts, didn't they? There was one
that, and they had an anime video.
Yeah, I knew there was someone else that did anime, but they did it. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Panthers, theirs was like a TV studio type thing. It was really good.
It was amazing.
The Panthers is always good, obviously.
I like how it had the players in it too, so that was pretty cool to see. Hayden Hurst, his hair flowing in the wind. That was great. Yeah, those are always fun to watch. I feel like they put a lot of effort into those. But so speaking of the schedule coming out, we have a couple of awards we're going to give out to some of the games on the schedules. We're going to start off with our snooze fest of the year. Which of these games are we already looking at? Knowing good and well, I'm going to watch it, but it's not going to be pretty. So starting off, I feel like I'm actually pretty certain this was a Thursday night game last year as well, and it was just as unbearable that time as it's going to be this time, I'm sure. We have the Chicago Bears versus the Washington Commanders. I mean, I can just imagine this on it's just a perfect Thursday night game, to be honest. One that you see and you're like, this is going to be horrible, but I will watch it. They did play on Thursday night this year, same teams. 12-7 was the final score.
2 teams who have like zero offense and really good defense is fun.
But yeah, I mean, we'll go see. I guess Sam Howell. I'm assuming that's who's gonna. I don't know at this point. Versus Justin Fields. I will be a Commanders fan. Bears are now one of my hated teams, sadly, because of the trade and the fans. Anyway, it'll not be pretty. At least I guess it's not Carson Wentz, but I don't know if there'll be an improvement there.
That's true. Mine I'm going with is Sunday Night Football, Week 11. I don't understand how this was even close to making a Sunday Night Football game, but it was. The Vikings versus the Broncos. Vikings, not so bad. You got Dalvin Cook, Jay Jettas. Yeah.
Kirk.
Okay, Kirk. And then the Broncos. I don't want to see any of that. I don't want to see anything that Sean Payton is going to give me with Russell Wilson. I just don't care. How could anybody care after last season?
I mean, unless they have a insane turnaround.
Yeah.
I mean, they were awful last year. And the amount of primetime Broncos games we had to sit through, they should have got 0 this year.
Russell Wilson was so bad. He was doing stretches and like wind sprints in the aisle of their plane. on the way to London last year. Like, nobody wants to see it. Nobody wants to hear about it. Just stay in Denver until you get rid of weirdo Russell Wilson.
All right. Moving on now to the opposite, our glue game of the year, because your eyes are going to be glued to the TV for
I
these
don't condone
ones.
it. I do not condone
Thank
it.
you.
I do not
Thank
condone it.
you. All right.
But that's all we had.
So my glue game, he couldn't come up with anything better. So that's where we're at. Our glue game, mine is a repeat game from last year that sadly did not get to happen. It's going to be kind of weird watching it, honestly, because of that.
Oh, is this that game?
Yes, this is going to be Week 9, Sunday Night Football, Bills at Bengals. If you remember last year, the Damar Hamlin happened in this game at this stadium, but it was on Monday Night Football. So at least I guess it's not the repeat there. But I don't know. It's going to be eerie. I feel like watching it, especially if he's playing in it. You're just going to be watching it like I don't know. It's going to be just like flashbacks as you watch it. I feel like and it'll be weird, but
that and just like how it was handled last year, which like it's an unprecedented situation. It's like how do you handle it? But they were just talking for like an hour and a half just about it and re-showing it, and it's like we've got to move on here. Cancel the game. Like just get us out of here, please.
But besides that fact as well, this is going to be an amazing game, hopefully, because Josh Allen versus Joe Burrow. The game we wanted last year that sadly did not get to happen. We actually get it this year, hopefully, and we'll get to see what happens. It'll be a great game.
All righty. Mine is Week 7, Sunday Night Football, Dolphins at the Eagles. The reason I picked this game is because, the showdown of Tua versus Jalen. A.J. Brown versus Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle versus whoever the second wide receiver is.
Smith.
Thank you. Devontae Smith. Oh, man. Holy cow. A lot of Alabama stuff going on here. I'm just realizing that.
Jalen Ramsey as well.
Yeah,
that's not Alabama. That was unrelated.
But I'm ready to see Tua versus Jalen. Just both of those wide receiver cores. If Tua can stay healthy and play good, then that could be a barn burner. So
that could definitely be good. But even their defenses are both so good too. So that's what's going to be. That's going to just be a showdown on both sides of the ball. Possible Super Bowl preview right there.
Could be.
All right, moving on to our games of the week. Zach, what you got?
My game of the week. Sorry, my cable got tied up. My game of the week is the New York Liberty versus the Washington Mystics. So this game right here, Commissioner Cup game, start off the season. We get to see the newly formed super team of the New York Liberty. Oh my God. I'm just going to read off these names. And Sabrina Ionesco, who just signed an extension today, by the way. Jonquel Jones, former MVP. You go down the list. Brianna Stewart from Seattle. Again, former MVP. Courtney Vandersloot. All these names that have teamed up in New York. Man, it's going to be a tough team to beat. And the same goes for the Aces, but we're not talking about them today. And then they play the Mystics, who are pretty much considered to be like you have the top two in the Aces and Liberty, and then right up under them contending, you got the Mystics. They've always been really good. They've always had injury issues, especially with Elena Delle Donne. But she says that this is the best she has felt in her entire life. And from what I have heard from other podcasts, getting ready for the season, she looks just as good. So this will be a good game. I hope. The Mystics are kind of known for their defense. Obviously, the Liberty are going to be scoring like crazy. And again, even though it is a super team, they're going to need time to get that chemistry and get it built up. So this could be one of those games where maybe the Mystics get a sneaky little punch and take away a win. It's going to be good. 7 o'clock on NBA TV Friday night. Make sure you tune in.
All right. And on my side, I couldn't go anywhere else with it. It is leg 2 of
Yeah.
Man City Real Madrid, this time
Yeah.
in Manchester, after round 1 being 1-1 and just so good of a match. I had to make this what to watch again because it was just
Yeah.
an insane game. And I'm ready to watch round 2. Who's going to come out on top? Are we going to get extra time, penalties?
Mm.
What kind of goals are going to be scored? I mean, after what happened in that first match, anything is possible between these two teams, and I'm excited to watch it again.
Yep.
All right,
Alrighty.
I think that about wraps it up. We
Go
actually
Fever,
got
babe. Go Fever.
Liverpool throwback jersey.
Oh, yeah, it is.
All right, so about that time.